Hello, welcome back to Topper Machine. I'm Josh Topper, and today is our follow-up video and a bit of a shop update. As I didn't do a follow-up video for last week, so I'm going to cover that, and I'm going to cover the last video. So we did the horizontal keyway milling, and we did those big sprockets, and there were a lot of questions on the sprockets, which I know a lot of you saw what I had to deal with on those, and they were not a great made sprocket. I can guarantee you they are some of the worst things I've ever seen. Their quality has gone downhill on these things, but for the application, they do work out extremely well. So now to get into, let's start on the why I didn't do a video last week for the follow-up, and that's because I was in Alaska. My wife made me go on vacation. We went to Alaska. I absolutely love it there. I've been there twice now. Looked at properties in a couple places. Even if we sold everything we own here, we couldn't afford to move there because this region's just depressed and nothing is worth anything. So sad, but that's the truth to that one. So yes, we were in Alaska. We absolutely love it. This time we took her parents with us. We did a cruise, but we flew into Anchorage, took the train down to Seward, got on the cruise ship, and then we did Juneau, Icy Strait Point, Skagway, and 𝐬𝐿, and then got off the cruise ship in Vancouver. We cruise with Celebrity Cruises. We love what they offer. It's been great. Their theater productions, the theater in them ships are awesome. They do a great job. So we really enjoyed that. We had a lot of fun. So now on to the questions and comments. Let's start with the horizontal keyway milling. So as I said in the video, I love doing keyways on the horizontal mill just because the chips just fall right out of the cut. You don't have to worry about anything there. It is a much more rigid machine than the Bridgeport, so that's even better. We did have one moron comment about, how many passes it took me to do this, and it would be faster on a CNC. Well, the first one is always kind of your learning spot, where you're learning how much you need to take with your cutter, especially when you're trying to hold a very tight tolerance on something like that. And that's why I crept up on it. So yes, multiple passes were kind of necessary for the first one. The second ones, I did it in 3 passes, maybe 4. So yeah, it's so much more efficient once you get it figured out and figure out where, what you need to hold that tolerance. And I held every one of them right there at 1 thou under size, which is what they wanted. No more, no less. They wanted it tight, and that's what they got. And they were very happy with them. They have since assembled all of those sprockets and shafts together, and some of them are in service. They're very happy with the outcome. Okay, so I had to get my phone here so I could look at the comments to make sure I get them all. A few people were mentioning the coolant I'm using, and I'm running automatic transmission fluid. If you go back in my videos, you'll see where I had some crap collected in here. ATF does have high detergent in it, so I was using that to kind of flush the system out, but it's been working great as a cutting fluid. So I've been using that. It's been working extremely well. Water soluble would be a great choice in this machine if I used it on a daily basis. Like the Lion lathe I use quite frequently, so I use the water soluble there. But because this machine sits for a couple weeks at a time between jobs, it just would not be a good choice for this thing. Several people commented how they had never thought about using a horizontal, and it does make a lot of sense when you think about how the chips can fall out of there. You can get the oil in there. It's a great way to do it. Otherwise, I don't think there was any real questions. Honestly, this was a pretty straightforward video. Okay, here's a good one. How do you figure the height of the arc in relation to the depth of the keyway? Always enjoy your videos. Thank you. So this one, you go to the machinery handbook. That's how it's done. You go in there, you figure out your keyway. There are formulas in there for putting a different size keyway in a different size shaft, so different than normal spec. But the keyway is measured, or Keyseat, let's correct the term here, Keyseat is measured from the side of the Keyseat to the bottom of the hole, or from the bottom of the shaft to the bottom of the Keyseat. So as in the machinery handbook, it's from the bottom of the Keyseat to the bottom of the shaft. So you're using a micrometer to get that. You can use your caliper and that'll measure your depth. So I'm doing a 3/8 depth keyway. That would be 3/8 that depth there, but you still would measure it off the bottom. So, but there are ways to calculate all that in the machinery handbook. You just got to look it up. And from that video, there was only one other question that really kind of caught me here, because everything else is pretty straightforward. I think I'd answered it already. But somebody asked about the dragline crane. I am still working on it. I'm working on that at night or weekends when I have time. It is coming along slowly, but I'm also working on other things. So I've been working on my steam engine. I got the cylinder painted. I've got a bunch of the parts in the shop that I'm painting. So I'm working my way through that. The piston will be coming up. I got the old piston over here. I got the chunk of aluminum for the piston here. The rings are here. So I'm working on this stuff slowly in between all the other stuff I need to do in life. So as I have a lot of things going on that I'm trying to, earn an income and things like that. So hobbies and things like that just don't take priority. So as there's time, I work on that stuff. But in a few weeks, I believe we'll have a video of the dragline. I'm hoping in a month or so, I'll have the video of the steam engine piston, because I got a few videos ahead filmed. I haven't to edit yet, and we're working on that. One of the videos was making a custom tool for a job that came in that I couldn't film, but I made the tool, filmed that, because I needed that tool to actually make the piston for the steam engine. So it worked out really well. So you're gonna get to see that tool in action. I make the tool in one video, and then the next video will be the making of the piston. So that'll be like a month and a half out, just as the way we kind of lay this out. So I made that tool about a month ago, and so I'm filming this follow-up video on Monday before it comes out. So this is where we're at currently. So got a few things going on, just working my way through the mess. So now let's move on to the questions of the big sprockets. All right, the big sprockets, the number one question that I saw asked, and everybody asked it. And yes, it bothers me. It bothers me a lot. Those sprockets are cut. I think they're plasma cut. So you got the profile on the outside. It's a 9-tooth sprocket, and being plasma cut, which is what I believe they do, it had a huge kerf, and it wasn't consistent all the way around. So one side might have, you're looking at it, might be cut this way, and you get to the bottom side and it's cut this way, and then one spot might be flat. So that's what we were fighting with, and that went all the way around. That wasn't just on the outer edge, it was also down in the valleys of the sprocket as well. So there was no really good way to hold that. And no matter what I did, those hubs, a couple of them did run very close to true. That one that I filmed was the absolute worst of the worst. I'd never seen one that bad in my life, and I've been doing these sprockets for 10 years or so now. It's just never seen them that bad. So that's what was going on there. They're a very low speed application. I'd like to say they're maybe 25, 30 RPM at the most. Might be less than that even. I mean, they're a very slow speed application, so there's no issue there. The issue with that whole assembly comes, what I was told a few years back, was bearing failure. So the bearings fail, and then it chews up the shaft, and while they're a shrink fit, you might as well just replace all of it. So that's what they do. So that's where that comes in. It's just being the low speed application, that's just, luckily it works out. But I never have seen one that bad. That thing was so wobbly offset. Somebody had said something about, they thought that the offset was causing vibrations, and it was throwing the machine off, and no, I was running slow enough. There's enough mass there. It really wasn't an issue. Now, if it were, that was probably 20, 30 pounds offset, but it was running slow enough, not an issue. If it were running much faster, yes, I could see it being an issue, but 30, 40 pounds, not gonna cause much, especially that close to center. But if I were to offset that even more, that much weight would start to make the machine bounce. It could do a lot. I used to turn some vibratory shafts. They were a 4-inch shaft, 2 feet long, and I'd turn down each end for bearings, and they were 3/8 of an inch offset. And I could run those right at 500 RPM on the Monarch lathe, and no change at all in the machine. You didn't feel it at all. They went extremely well. That offset was enough to make a 4-ton machine bounce off the concrete almost an eighth to a quarter inch. So for a vibratory machine, it was a vibratory asphalt roller. So it would make that machine bounce and walk across the floor. But the lathe like that, it didn't have issues. It was kind of interesting how that worked. So there are times when you want to offset your weight and balance your offset weights, but this was not one of them. And as you saw, I was running it pretty slow. I started out slow when I first did these on this lathe just to make sure, because I used to run these on the Monarch, the big Monarch, that was significantly heavier. So we're just fine at where I was, and running slow is the key. And as I said earlier in this video, I've been working on the steam engine. There is the cylinder all painted up, and she came out beautiful, absolutely beautiful. That green is going to look good on there. This is the cover for the steam chest. This is the cylinder head. I got to work on doing the engine base and everything on the engine. I've been working on getting the water tanks final mounted, which I am close to having that done. But here I wanted to show you guys this. So this is the ring that I took out of the engine, and it's wore quite well. This is the new ring. So as you can see, much more beef to it. Let me actually lay the old one on top of the new one here. So that's laying on there. And I didn't bore the cylinder a lot to get it clean. So as you can see, there's quite a difference there. So that's going to help a lot with my compression issues. When I opened this, when I put this, or pulled the piston out, this ring did not expand. It was that wore out. So that's what we had going there. But brand new rings. So I ordered those from Niagara Piston Ring because it just made more sense to have them make them versus making them myself. Cost-wise, time-wise, everything just made more sense. And here we are with some of the other steam engine parts that I've got off so far and ready to paint. This is my connecting rod. I got this all cleaned up nice. The cross head. This is the exhaust port. So this comes out the bottom of the cylinder, and then there's a flange with a pipe that goes out to the smoke box and up the stack. So that's what causes our draft, is the exhaust from the steam engine itself. Here's my crosshead shoes. Packing nut for the valve rod. Here's the other half of that goes threads into the steam chest for the valve rod. And then this is my crank pin washer that goes on the outside of the crank pin on the crankshaft. So all this is cleaned up. I plan on getting this primed today and maybe painted. We're going to use the green on here. I think the connecting rod and the crosshead are going to get the red that's going to be on the engine. So it's going to look really nice when it's all done here, but I'm going to get going on the painting, like I said, yet today. I'm going to run to town here shortly and get, I'm using automotive paint and epoxy primer on this, so I'm not doing it cheaply. This paint, I'd like to say, is close to $200 a quart right now, so definitely a costly endeavor to paint this engine. And for those of you who have been asking about the dragline, all the rollers are back on, and they spin beautifully. I still got to put the grease zerks in, and then reassemble the tracks. And I've already got the first box of track pads and pins over at the shop to bring them in here in the next few days. And we'll get those all put back together and then get this thing back on its tracks and hopefully drive it around. So that's where we're at with the dragline. So I hope I answered all your questions. As you can see, I'm working on a lot of different things. Not much for paying work though. The sprocket and the shafts was the last real job I had since March. When I did the video here last year asking for, you know, send me work, whatever, we had a few people reach out, a few potential promising ones, and all of them petered out. So things are very slow here, which is forcing me to do other things to earn some money, keep the lights on. But I'm also working on my own projects to keep myself occupied, so that's good. So you're gonna see more of probably the dragline, the steam engine, the sawmill. In fact, next week's video, we saw some more 21-foot long boards. 2x8s came out absolutely beautiful. Start to finish, we cut down the tree. Carl and I dropped the tree, loaded it up, got it on the mill, and sawed that sucker into some beautiful boards. So check out Saturday's video. I hope you'll enjoy it. Stay tuned, we've got some neat stuff coming, different, I've got a radial drill upgrade, and then a radial drill job, and then I got that tool holder. I can't think of what else I have filmed, but we got stuff in the works, so stay tuned, there's great stuff coming. And until next time, get out in your shop and get it done right the first time.